Arjun Erigaisi vs Pranesh, Quantbox Chennai GM 2026. Part 1, Moves 1 to 7. Opening, Giuoco Pianissimo, Italian game. Welcome back to the Night Gambit TV. Today we are going to study a fascinating Grandmaster battle between GM Arjun Erigaisi and GM Pranesh. This game begins with the Giuoco Pianissimo, one of the most respected and strategic openings in modern chess. Instead of launching an immediate attack, both players quietly improve their pieces, prepare for the middle game, and patiently fight for control. Let's understand every move one by one. Move 1. White plays e4. White moves the king's pawn 2 squares forward. This move immediately controls the important central squares d5 and f5. It also opens lines for two important pieces, the king's bishop and the queen. The idea is simple. Control the center, develop pieces quickly, and prepare to castle. Move 1. Black replies e5. Black mirrors white's idea. The king's pawn moves to e5, controlling d4 and f4, while also opening the path for the king's bishop and queen. Now both players have equal space in the center. Move 2. White plays in f3. The king's knight develops from g1 to f3. This knight attacks the black pawn on e5, while controlling the important central squares d4 and e5. This is classical opening play. Develop a piece while creating pressure. Move 2. Black plays nc6. Black develops the queen's knight from b8 to c6. The knight protects the pawn on e5 and also controls the central squares d4 and e5. Both players are following excellent opening principles. Move 3. White plays bc4. The king's bishop moves from f1 to c4. This bishop points directly toward the weak f7 square, which is protected only by black's king. Many tactical ideas in the Italian game revolve around pressure against f7. Move 3. Black plays in f6. Black develops the king's knight from g8 to f6. The knight attacks white's e4 pawn while preparing to castle kingside. Development continues naturally. Move 4. White plays d3. Instead of pushing d4 immediately, white chooses the quiet move d3. The queen's pawn supports the e4 pawn and opens the diagonal for the queen's bishop. This move leads to the famous Giuoco Pianissimo, which means very quiet game. Instead of sharp tactics, both players build strong positions. Move 4. Black plays bc5. Black develops the king's bishop to c5. The bishop aims toward white's kingside while controlling important central squares. Now both bishops face each other across the board. Move 5. White plays c3. White advances the c-pawn 1 square. This prepares the important central break d for later. Although the engine slightly prefers castling first, c3 is a common strategic idea in the Italian game. White is preparing to build a powerful pawn center. Move 5. Black plays a5. Black pushes the a-pawn to a5. This move gains space on the queen side and prevents white from easily expanding with b4. The engine prefers castling immediately, but this move is still playable and has strategic value. Move 6. White castles kingside 0-0. White places the king safely on g1 and brings the rook to f1. Castling is one of the most important opening principles. A safe king allows white to begin active operations in the center. Move 6. Black plays d6. Black supports the e5 pawn with the queen's pawn. This also opens the diagonal for the queen's bishop. Black builds a solid pawn structure before developing more pieces. Move 7. White plays 1 rupee. The kingside rook moves from f1 to e1. The rook supports the e4 pawn and prepares the central advance d4. It also lines up with black's king on the e-file for future tactical possibilities. This is a common idea in the Italian game. Move 7. Black plays ba7. Black retreats the king's bishop from c5 to a7. Although castling was considered slightly stronger by the engine, this retreat keeps the bishop on the long diagonal and avoids possible attacks after white's d4 advance. The bishop now watches the important g1, a7 diagonal, where it may become powerful later in the game. End of part 1. After 7 moves, both grandmasters have developed calmly. White has completed castling, improved the rook, and prepared to fight for the center. Black has created a solid position with flexible piece placement. The real strategic battle is about to begin, where every small decision will matter. Arjun Erigaisi vs Pranesh, Quantbox Chennai GM 2026. Part 2, Moves 8 to 14. Building the middle game. Welcome back. In Part 1, both players completed their basic development. Now the game becomes more strategic as each side improves its pieces and prepares for a middle game battle. Move 8. White plays NBD2. White develops the Queen's Knight from B1 to D2. This knight supports the important E4 and F3 squares and prepares to move toward F1 or C4 later if needed. It also helps white prepare the central pawn advance. Move 8. Black plays B6. Black develops the queen's bishop from C8 to E6. The bishop attacks white's bishop on C4 and controls important central squares. Black also prepares to exchange bishops if it is favorable. Move 9. White plays BB5. White moves the king's bishop from C4 to B5. The bishop pins the C6 knight to the king's future defense and increases pressure. However, the engine suggests B6 was more accurate, exchanging black's active bishop immediately. Even so, BB5 is a natural developing move. Move 9. Black castles O. Black places the king safely on G8 and brings the kingside rook to F8. Now both kings are safe, allowing both players to focus completely on the middle game. Move 10. White plays H3. White advances the H-pawn 1 square. This small move prevents any future BG4, where black's bishop could pin the white knight on F3. It also gives the king a small escape square after castling. A quiet move, but very useful. Move 10. Black plays N7. Black moves the queen's knight from C6 to E7. From E7, the knight can support G6 or C6 later and helps prepare a kingside defense. Move 11. White plays D4. White finally pushes the queen's pawn from D3 to D4. This is the main strategic idea behind earlier moves like C3 and 1 rupee. White challenges black's center and opens lines for the bishops and rooks. Move 11. Black plays E6. Black moves the king's knight from F8 to G6. The knight heads toward active kingside squares and eyes F4 and H4. It also supports black's future attacking chances. Move 12. White plays BD3. White brings the bishop from B5 to D3. The bishop now points toward black's kingside and works together with the queen to create possible attacking ideas against H7. White's pieces are becoming more active. Move 12. Black plays NH5. Black jumps the knight from G7. No, the knight moves from G6 to H5. From H5, the knight prepares to jump into F4, a powerful outpost where it can attack white's bishop and support black's position. This is an active and ambitious maneuver. Move 13. White plays NF1. White repositions the king's knight from G3. No, the knight moves from D2 to F1. This is a classic Italian game maneuver. From F1, the knight can later move to G3, where it will support the kingside attack and defend important central squares. Grandmasters often improve their pieces step by step rather than rushing into attacks. Move 13. Black plays NHF4. Black's knight moves from H5 to F4. This is exactly what black planned. The knight reaches an excellent square, attacking white's bishop on D3 and creating pressure around white's king. A knight on F4 can be extremely powerful. Move 14. White plays BC2. Instead of exchanging immediately, white calmly retreats the bishop from D3 to C2. The bishop remains on the important diagonal toward black's king and avoids being exchanged. White keeps the bishop pair and maintains attacking chances. Move 14. Black plays C6. Black advances the c-pawn from C7 to C6. This strengthens the center, supports a future D5 break, and gives black a solid pawn structure. Black's position is flexible and well prepared for the coming middle game. End of Part 2. After 14 moves, both grandmasters have completed their development. White has carefully repositioned the knights and bishops for future attacking chances, while black has placed a knight on the strong F4 square and built a solid central structure. The next phase of the game will feature tactical ideas, active piece play, and the beginning of direct confrontation in the center. Arjun Erigaisi vs Pranesh, Quantbox Chennai GM 2026. Part 3, Moves 15 to 21. The battle for central control. Welcome back. The opening phase is over, and now both grandmasters begin fighting for key squares. Every move has a purpose, and each piece is carefully repositioned to gain an advantage. Move 15, White plays Ing3. White moves the knight from f1 to g3. This completes the classic Italian game knight maneuver. From g3, the knight attacks the important f5 and h5 squares while supporting White's kingside. It also prepares to challenge Black's active knight on f4. Move 15. Black plays qd7. Black develops the queen from d8 to d7. The queen connects both rooks, supports the h3, c8 diagonal, and prepares to place a rook on the d-file. Black also keeps the option of bringing the queen to f7 or e6 later. Move 16. White plays in f5. White jumps the knight from g3 to f5. This is an excellent move. The knight becomes very active, attacking g7, h6, and e7 while increasing pressure around Black's king. An advanced knight on f5 is often a powerful attacking piece because it cannot easily be ignored. Move 16. Black plays f6. Black pushes the f-pawn from f7 to f6. This move challenges White's active knight and prevents dangerous ideas against g7. Although it weakens Black's kingside slightly, it is a practical defensive decision. Move 17. White plays in 5h4. White moves the knight from f5 to h4. The engine suggests another knight move would have been slightly stronger, but this is still a logical decision. The knight stays active and keeps an eye on the f5 and g6 squares while avoiding being chased away. Move 17. Black plays f8. Black develops the kingside rook from f8 to e8. The rook now controls the open e-file, supports the e5 pawn, and prepares for possible tactical opportunities in the center. Both rooks are now connected and ready for action. Move 18. White plays in xg6. White's knight from h4 captures the black knight on g6. White removes one of Black's important defenders. Although the engine preferred another move, exchanging this knight reduces Black's kingside activity. Move 18. Black plays in xg6. Black's remaining knight from f4 captures White's knight on g6. Black immediately recaptures, keeping the material balance equal while maintaining an active knight. Move 19. White plays b3. White develops the queen's bishop from c1 to e3. The bishop protects important central squares, supports the queen, and helps prepare future attacks along the kingside. White's pieces are working together very well. Move 19. Black plays qc7. Black moves the queen from d7 to c7. From c7, the queen supports the e5 pawn, watches the kingside, and coordinates with the bishop and rook. The queen also prepares for possible pressure along the c-file. Move 20. White plays a4. White advances the a-pawn from a2 to a4. This gains space on the queen side and prevents Black from expanding further with a4. It also gives White more control over the b5 square. Move 20. Black plays bf7. Black retreats the bishop from e6 to f7. The bishop remains active, protects the king, and supports the important e6, g8 diagonal. It also prepares to cooperate with the queen and rooks in the coming middle game. Move 21. White plays qb1. White moves the queen from d1 to b1. This is a quiet but strong strategic move. From b1, the queen supports the b-file, eyes the h7 square through the diagonal, and coordinates with the bishop on c2 for possible kingside attacks. Grandmasters often make such quiet, improving moves before launching tactics. Move 21. Black plays rad8. Black moves the queenside rook from a8 to d8. Now both rooks are centralized. The rook supports Black's planned d5 pawn break and increases pressure on the center. Black's position is fully developed and ready for the critical phase of the game. End of Part 3. After 21 moves, both players have completed their preparations. White has active bishops, a well-placed queen, and good attacking chances. Black has excellent rook coordination, a solid pawn structure, and is preparing the important central break, d5. The next phase of the game becomes highly tactical, where every move carries serious consequences. In Part 4, we'll cover moves 22 to 27, including 22 exd4, 23.nxd4, 24 bxd5, the powerful 26.qxg6, and the brilliant 27.f4 that sets up the tactical fireworks. Arjun Erigaisi vs Pranesh, Quantbox Chennai GM 2026. Part 4, Moves 22 to 27. The tactical battle begins. Welcome back. After careful preparation in the opening and middle game, both grandmasters now enter the most exciting phase of the game. One inaccurate move can completely change the evaluation. Move 22, White plays kh1. White moves the king from g1 to h1. This is a useful waiting move that places the king on a safer square, avoiding future checks on the g1, a7 diagonal. However, the engine prefers bd3, which would have improved White's position more actively. Move 22. Black plays exd4. Black c5. Pawn captures the white pawn on d4. This is the central pawn break Black has been preparing for several moves. By opening the center, Black activates the bishops, queen, and rooks. Move 23. White plays an xd4. White's knight from f3 captures the pawn on d4. Although this looks natural, the engine considers it an inaccuracy. The stronger continuation was cxd4, using the c3 pawn to recapture. That would have maintained a stronger pawn structure and better central control. Still, White chooses active piece play. Move 23. Black plays d5. Black advances the d6, pawn to d5. This is an excellent central strike. Black challenges White's bishop, opens lines for the queen and rooks, and increases activity throughout the position. Move 24. White plays exd5. White's e4. Pawn captures the pawn on d5. White removes Black's advanced pawn and opens more lines in the center. The position becomes increasingly tactical. Move 24. Black plays bxd5. Black's bishop from f7 captures the pawn on d5. Although this develops the bishop actively, the engine suggests bb8 was stronger. By placing the bishop on d5, Black allows White to begin a powerful tactical sequence. Move 25. White plays bxg6. White's bishop from e4. No, the bishop from c2 captures the knight on g6. This is an important exchange. White removes one of Black's key defenders around the king. Move 25. Black plays hxg6. Black's h-pawn captures the bishop on g6. Black regains the material, but the kingside pawn structure is now damaged. The h-file is opened, and Black's king becomes more exposed. Move 26. White plays qxg6. White's queen moves from b1 to g6, capturing the pawn on g6. This is a very strong attacking move. The queen enters Black's kingside, attacking weak squares and creating direct threats against the king. White's queen becomes the most active piece on the board. Move 26. Black plays bb8. Black retreats the bishop from d6. Actually, the bishop moves from d5 to b7. In the game score, the move is bb8, meaning the bishop retreats from d6/d5 line back to b8. The idea is to protect the king and defend important dark squares. Even so, White's attack continues. Move 27. White plays f4. White pushes the f-pawn from f3. No, the f-pawn advances from f2 to f4. This is a brilliant attacking move. The pawn attacks Black's bishop, opens lines for the rook and queen, and prepares powerful tactical ideas on the e-file. White's pieces now work together perfectly. The queen attacks from g6. The rook is ready on the e-file. The f-pawn drives Black's pieces backward. Black's king has very little safety. This move marks the beginning of the spectacular tactical sequence that follows. End of part 4. The position has transformed completely. Black's king is under heavy pressure. White's queen dominates the kingside, and tactical ideas are everywhere. In part 5, we'll explain the brilliant finish from 27, Rex 3 to 34.QE8+, including the stunning sacrifice 29.Re8+. The queen checks, perpetual check, and why neither side could escape, leading to a well-earned draw. Arjun Erigaisi vs Pranesh, Quantbox Chennai GM 2026. Part 5, Moves 27, Rex 3 to 34.QE8+. A brilliant tactical finish. Welcome back. We have reached the most exciting part of this Grandmaster game. White launches a powerful attack, black defends accurately, and the game ends with a beautiful perpetual check. Move 27. Rex 3. Black sacrifices the rook from e8 to e3, capturing white's bishop on e3. This exchange sacrifice is a practical defensive resource. Black removes one of white's strongest attacking pieces and tries to reduce the pressure against the king. Move 28. White plays Rex 3. White's rook from e1 captures the rook on e3. White accepts the sacrifice and keeps material balance under control. The rook now occupies an active square in black's position. Move 28. Qx f4. Black's queen moves from c7 to f4, capturing the pawn on f4. The queen becomes active, attacks white's king, and creates counterplay while defending important squares. Black is no longer only defending, there are now threats against white as well. Move 29. White plays re8+. White's rook moves from e3 to e8, giving check. This is a brilliant tactical move. The rook invades the 8th rank and forces black to respond immediately. The idea is to deflect black's defenders and create opportunities for the queen to deliver continuous checks. Move 29. Rex 8. Black's remaining rook from d8 captures white's rook on e8. Black has no choice. If black ignores the check, the king remains under attack. Move 30. White plays c8+. White's queen captures the rook on e8, giving check again. Now both rooks have disappeared from the board. White's queen becomes the only attacking piece, but it is powerful enough to keep black's king under constant pressure. Move 30. Kh7. Black moves the king from g8 to h7. This is the only safe square available. The king tries to escape the checks. Move 31. White plays qh5+. White's queen moves from e8 to h5, giving another check. The queen attacks along the 5th rank and keeps the black king trapped. This is an example of excellent queen activity. Move 31. Kg8. Black returns the king from h7 to g8. The king cannot move far because white controls many escape squares. Move 32. White plays qe8+. White's queen returns to e8, checking once again. The queen repeatedly switches between e8 and h5, preventing the black king from escaping. Move 32. Kh7. Black's king goes back to h7. Move 33. White plays qh5+. Once again, white's queen checks from h5. Black still cannot escape. Move 33. Kg8. The king returns to g8. Both players now realize that neither side can improve the position. Move 34. White plays qe8+. White gives one final check by moving the queen back to e8. The same position has now been repeated. According to the laws of chess, either player may claim a draw by threefold repetition. The game ends peacefully. Final result. Arjun Erigaisi 1/2. 1/2 Pranesh. Lessons from this game. 1. Develop all your pieces before attacking. Both grandmasters completed development before starting tactical operations. 2. Fight for the center. The pawn breaks. d5 and exd5 change the character of the game completely. 3. Knights are strongest on advanced outposts. Both players carefully maneuvered their knights to active squares before exchanging them. 4. Queen activity is extremely powerful. In the final position, white's queen alone was strong enough to force a perpetual check. 5. Sometimes a draw is the best result. Neither player had a safe path to victory, and accurate play from both sides led to a deserved draw. Conclusion. This game is a wonderful example of modern grandmaster chess. Quiet opening moves gradually turned into an intense tactical battle. Both Arjun Erigaisi and Pranesh demonstrated deep positional understanding, precise calculation, and excellent defensive skills. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Knight Gambit TV. See you in the next chess lesson.